Chapter number 13, Motion and Time. In class 6, you learnt about different types of motions. You learnt that a motion could be along a straight line, it could be circular or periodic. Can you recall these three types of motions? Table 13.1 gives some common examples of motions. Identify the type of motion in each case. It is common experience that the motion of some objects is slow while that of some others is fast, slow or fast. We know that some vehicles move faster than others. Even the same vehicle may move faster or slower at different times. Make a list of 10 objects moving along a straight path. Group the motion of these objects as slow and fast. How did you decide which object is moving slow and which one is moving fast? If vehicles are moving on a road in the same direction, we can easily tell which one of them is moving faster than the other. Let us look at the motion of vehicles moving on a road. Activity 13.1. Look at figure 30.1. It shows the position of some vehicles moving on a road in the same direction at some instant of time. Now look at figure 30.2. It shows the position of the same vehicles after some time. From your observations of the two figures, answer the following questions. Which vehicle is moving the fastest of all? Which one of them is moving the slowest of all? The distance moved by objects in a given interval of time can help us to decide which one is faster or slower. For example, imagine that you have gone to see off your friend at the bus stand. Suppose you start pedaling your bicycle at the same time as the bus begins to move. The distance covered by you after 5 minutes would be much smaller than that covered by the bus. Would you say that the bus is moving faster than the bicycle? We often say that the faster vehicle has a higher speed in a 100-meter race. It is easy to decide which speed is the highest. One who takes the shortest time to cover the distance of 100 meters has the highest speed. A speed, you are probably familiar with the word speed in the examples given above. A higher speed seems to indicate that a given distance has been covered in a shorter time or a larger distance covered in a given time. The most convenient way to find out which of the two or more objects is moving faster is to compare the distances moved by them in a unit time. Thus, if we know the distance covered by two buses in 1 hour, we can tell which one is faster. We call the distance covered by an object in a unit time as the speed of the object. When we say that a car is moving with a speed of 50 kilometers per hour, it implies that it will cover a distance of 50 kilometers in 1 hour. However, a car seldom moves with a constant speed for 1 hour. In fact, it starts moving slowly and then picks up a speed. So, when we say that the car has a speed of 50 kilometers per hour, we usually consider only the total distance covered by it in 1 hour. We do not bother whether the car has been moving with a constant speed or not during that hour. The speed calculated here is actually the average speed of the car in this book. We shall use the term speed for average speed. So for us the speed is the total distance covered divided by the total time taken. Thus, a speed is equal to total distance covered by total time taken. In everyday life, we seldom find objects moving with a constant speed over long distances or for long durations of time. If the speed of an object moving along a straight line keeps changing, its motion is said to be non-uniform. On the other hand, an object moving along a straight line with a constant speed is said to be in uniform motion. In this case, the average speed is the same as the actual speed. We can determine the speed of a given object once we can measure the time taken by it to cover a certain distance. In class 6, you learned how to measure distances. But how do we measure the time? Let us find out measurement of time. If you did not have a clock, how would you decide what type of the day it is? Have you ever wondered how our elders could tell the approximate time to the day by day just looking at the shadows? How do we measure time interval of a month, a year? Our satyrs noticed that many events in nature repeat themselves after definite intervals of a time. For example, they found that the sun rises every day in the morning. The time between one sunrise and the next was called a day. Similarly, a month was measured from one new moon to the next. A year was fixed as the time taken by the earth to complete one revolution of the sun. Often we need to measure intervals of time which are much shorter than a day. Clocks or watches are perhaps the most common time measuring devices. Have you ever wondered how clocks and watches measure time? The working of clocks is rather complex, but all of them make use of some periodic motion. One of the most well-known periodic motions is that of a simple pendulum. A simple pendulum consists of a small metallic ball or a piece of stone suspended from a rigid stand by a thread. The metallic ball is called the bob of the pendulum. Shows the pendulum at rest in its main position. When the bob of the pendulum is released after taking it slightly to one side, it begins to move to and fro. The to and fro motion of a simple pendulum is an example of a periodic or an oscillatory motion. The pendulum is said to have completed one oscillation when its bob, starting from its main position O, moves to A to B and back to O. The pendulum also completes one oscillation when its bob moves from one extreme position A to the other extreme position B and comes back to A. The time taken by the pendulum to complete one oscillation is called its time period. Activity 13.2. Set up a simple pendulum as shown in figure 13.4 with a thread or string of length nearby 1 meter which of any fans nearby. Let the bob of the pendulum come to rest at its mean position. Mark the mean position of the bob on the floor below it or on the wall behind it. To measure the time period of the pendulum, we will need a stopwatch. However, if a stopwatch is not available, a table clock or a wristwatch can be used. To set the pendulum in motion, gently hold the bob and move it slightly to one side. Make sure that the string attached to the bob is topped while you displace it. Now release the bob from its displaced position. Remember that the bob is not to be pushed when it is released. Note the time on the clock when the bob is at its mean position. Instead of the mean position, you may note the time when the bob is at one of its extreme positions. Measure the time the pendulum takes to complete 20 oscillations. Record your observations in table 13.2. The first observations is just a sample. Your observations could be different from this. Repeat this activity a few times and record your observations by dividing the time taken for 20 oscillations by 20. Get the time taken for one oscillations or the time period of the pendulum. Is the time period of your pendulum nearly the same in all cases? Note that a slight change in the initial displacement does not affect the time period of your pendulum. Nowadays, most clocks or watches have an electric circuit with one or more cells. These clocks are called quarters clocks. The time measured by quarters clocks is much more accurate than that by the clocks available earlier. Units of time and speed. The basic unit of time is a second. Its symbol is s. Larger units of time are minutes, minute, and hours. You already know how these units are related to one another. What would be the basic unit of speed? Since the speed is a distance by time, the basic unit of speed is a meter by second. Of course, it could also be expressed in other units such as m प्रति minute or kilometer प्रति hour per hour. You must remember that the symbols of all units are written in singular. For example, we write 50 kilometer and not 50 kilometers, or 8 centimeter and not 8 centimeters. Bojo is wondering how many seconds there are in a day and how many hours in a year. Can you help him? There is an interesting story about the discovery that the time period of a given pendulum is constant. You might have heard the name of a famous scientist Galileo Galilei, AD 1564 to 1642. It is said that once Galileo was sitting in a church. He noticed that a lamp suspended from the ceiling with a chain was moving slowly from one side to the other. He was surprised to find that each pulse beat the same number of times during the interval in which the lamp completed one oscillation. Galileo experimented with various pendulums to verify his observations. He found that a pendulum of a given length takes always the same time to complete one oscillation. These observations led to the development of pendulum clocks. Winding clocks and raised voices were refinements of the pendulum clocks. Different units of time are used depending on the need. For example, it is convenient to express your age in years rather than in days or hours. Similarly, it will not be wise to express in years the time taken by you to cover the distance between your home and your school. How small or large is a time interval or 1 second of 1 second? The time taken in saying around 2001 is nearly 1 second. Verify it by counting aloud from 2001 to 2010. The pulse of a normal healthy adult at rest beats about 22 times in a minute. That is about 20 times in 10 seconds. This rate may be slightly higher for children. Paley wondered how time was measured when pendulum clocks were not available. Many time measuring devices were used in different parts of the world before the pendulum clocks became popular. Sundials, water clocks, and sand clocks are some examples of such devices. Different designs of these devices were developed in different parts of the world. Measuring speed. Having learned how to measure time and distance, you can calculate the speed of an object. Let us find the speed of a ball moving along the ground. Activity 13.3. Draw a straight line on the ground with chalk, powder, or lime and ask one of your friends to stand 1 to 2 meter away from it. Let your friend gently roll a ball along the ground in a direction perpendicular to the line. Note the time at the moment the ball crosses the line and also when it comes to rest. How much time does the ball take to come to rest? The smallest time interval that can be measured with commonly available clocks and watches is 1 second. However, no special clocks are available that can measure time intervals smaller than a second. Some of these clocks can measure time intervals as small as 1 millionth or even 1 billionth of a second. You might have heard the terms like microsecond and nanosecond. 1 microsecond is 1 millionth of a second. A nanosecond is 1 billionth of a second. Clocks that measure such a small time intervals are used for scientific research. The time measuring devices used in sports can measure time intervals that are 1/10 or 1/100th of a second. On the other hand, the times of historical events are stated in terms of centuries or millions. The ages of stars and planets are often expressed in billions of years. Can you imagine the range of time intervals that we have to deal with? Measure the distance between the point at which the ball crosses the line and the point where it comes to rest. You can use a scale or a measuring tape. Let different groups repeat the activity, record the measurements in table 13.3. In each case, calculate the speed of the ball. You may now like to compare your speed of walking or cycling with that of your friends. You need to know the distance of the school from your home or from some other point. Each one of you can then measure the time taken to cover the distance and calculate your speed. It may be interesting to know who amongst you each the fastest speeds of some living organizations are given in table 13.4 in kilometer per hour. You can calculate the speeds in meter per second. Yourself rockets launching satellites into Earth's orbit often attain speeds up to 8 km per second. On the other hand, a thruster can move only with a speed of about 8 centimeters per second. Can you calculate how fast is the rocket compared with the tortoise? Once you know the speed of an object, you can find the distance moved by it in a given time. All you have to do is to multiply the speed by time. Thus, distance covered is equal to speed multiple time. You can also find the time an object would take to cover a distance while moving with a given speed. Time taken is equal to distance by speed. Bujo wants to know whether there is any device that measures the speed. You might have seen a meter fitted on top of a scooter or a motorcycle. Similarly, meters can be seen on the dashboards of cars, buses, and other vehicles. Figure 13.7 shows the dashboard of a car. Note that one of the meters has kilometer per hour written at one corner. This is called a speedometer. It records the speed directly in kilometer per hour. There is also another meter that measures the distance moved by the vehicle. This meter is known as an odometer. While going for a school picnic, Paheli decided to note the reading on the odometer of the bus after every 30 minutes till the end of the journey. Later on, she recorded her readings in table 13.5. Can you tell how far was the picnic spot from the school? Can you calculate the speed of the bus? Looking at the table, Bujo asked Paheli whether she can tell how far they would have traveled till 9:45 am. Paheli had no answer to this question. They went to their teacher. She told them that one way to solve this problem is to pull out a distance time graph. Let us find out how such a graph is plotted. Distance time graph, you might have seen that newspapers, magazines, etc. present information in various forms of graphs to make it interesting. Make it interesting. The type of graph shown in figure 13.8 is known as a bar graph. Another type of graphical representation is a pie chart. The graph shown in figure 30.10 is an example of a line graph. The distance time graph is a line graph. Let us learn to make such a graph. Take a sheet of graph paper, draw two lines perpendicular to each other on it, as shown in figure. Mark the horizontal line as x or x. It is known as the x-axis. Similarly, mark the vertical line y o y. It is called the y-axis, the point of intersection of x o x and y o y is known as the origin o. The two quantities between which the graph is drawn are shown along these two axes. We show the positive values on the x-axis along OX. Similarly, positive values on the y-axis are shown along OY. In this chapter, we shall consider only the positive values of quantities. Therefore, we shall use only the shaded part of the shape graph shown in figure. Bujo and Paheli found out the distance traveled by a car and the time taken by it to cover that distance. Their data is shown in table 13.6. You can make the graph by following the steps given below. Draw two perpendicular lines to represent the two axes and water them as OX and OY as in figure 13.11. Decide the quantity to be so along the x-axis and that to be so along the y-axis. In this case, we show the time also the x-axis and the distance along the y-axis. Choose a scale to represent the distance and another to represent the time on the graph. For the motion of the car, scales could be time 1 minute is equal to 1 centimeter, distance 1 kilometer is equal to 1 centimeter. Mark values for the time and the distance on the respective axis according to the scale. To the scale you have chosen for the motion of the car, mark the time 1 minute, 2 minute on the x-axis from the origin, or similarly mark the distance 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer on the y-axis. Now you have to mark on the points on the graph paper to represent each set of values for distance and time. Observations are recorded at is number 1 in table 13.6. So that at a time 0 minute the distance moved is also 0. The point corresponding to each set of values on the graph will therefore be the origin itself. After 1 minute the car has moved a distance of 1 kilometer. To mark this set of values, look for the point that represents 1 minute on the x-axis. Draw a line parallel to the y-axis at this point. Then draw a line parallel to the y-axis from the point corresponding to distance 1 kilometer on the y-axis. The point where these two lines intersect represents this set of values on the graph. Similarly, mark on the graph paper the points corresponding to different sets of values. Figure 30.12 show the set of points on the graph corresponding to positions of the car at various times. Join all the points on the graph as shown in figure 13.13. It is a straight line. This is the distance time graph for the motion of the car. If the distance time graph is a straight line, it indicates that the object is moving with a constant speed. However, if the speed of the object keeps changing, the graph can be of any other shape. Generally, the choice of scales is not as simple as in the example given in figure 13.12 and 13.13. We may have to choose two different scales to represent the desired quantities on the x-axis and the y-axis. Let us try to understand this process with an example. Let us again consider the motion of the bus that took Paheli and her friends to the picnic. The distance covered and the time taken by the bus are shown in table 13.5. The total distance covered by the bus is 80 km. If we decide to choose a scale 1 km is equal to 1 centimeter, we shall have to draw an axis of length 80 cm. This is not possible on a sheet of paper. On the other hand, a scale 10 km is equal to 1 cm would require an axis of length only 8 cm. This scale is quite convenient. However, the graph may cover only a small part of the graph paper. Some of the points to be kept in mind while choosing the most suitable scale for driving a graph are the difference between the highest and the lowest values of each quantity, the intermediate values of each quantity, so that with the scale chosen it is convenient to mark the values on the graph and to utilize the maximum part of the paper on which the graph is to be drawn. Suppose that you are given a graph paper of a size 25 cm multiple 25 cm. One of the scales which meets the above conditions and can accommodate the data of table 13.5 could be distance time 5 km is equal to 1 cm and time 6 minutes is equal to 1 cm. Can you now draw the distance time graph for the motion of the bus? Is the graph drawn by you similar to that shown in figure 13.13? Distance time graphs provide a variety of information about the motion when compared to the data presented by a table. For example, table 13.5 gives information about the distance moved by the bus only at some different time intervals. On the other hand, from the distance time graph, we can find the distance moved by the bus at any instant of time. Suppose we want to know how much distance the bus had traveled at 8:50 am. We mark the point corresponding to the time at 15 am on the x-axis. Suppose this point is A. Next, we draw a line perpendicular to the x-axis or parallel to the y-axis at point A. We then mark the point T on the graph at which this perpendicular line intersects it. Next, we draw a line through the point T parallel to the x-axis which intersects the y-axis at the point B. The distance corresponding to the point B on the y-axis OB gives us the distance in kilometer covered by the bus at 8:15 am. How much is this distance in kilometer? Can you now help Pehli to find the distance moved by the bus at 9:45 am? Can you also find the speed of the bus from its distance time graph?